back everybody to GDQ HOTFIX. We are still here. We are still here with Sonic and the Shiny Things Marathon. We've been going all day. Probably got a few more hours left in us, about 2 more hours of this, but don't worry. If you've been enjoying all of the Sonic fun, we will be continuing tomorrow at noon Eastern time, so make sure that you come back for that. In addition, I do want to mention HOTFIX is funded in part thanks to your bits and subscriptions, so please consider subscribing to support future broadcasts like these ones. These broadcasts are only possible due to all the fantastic stuff that you all provide for us. And don't forget, if you have Amazon Prime, you can link your Twitch account to subscribe for free. And so now I'm going to throw it over to VoiD for Sonic 3D Blast.
Hello guys, this is Sonic 3D Blast, a pretty underrated Genesis game. I'm joined in commentary by Amber and the Kid.
Hello, you thought you were rid of me.
Not quite. You can never get rid of you.
Oh no, especially not with 3D Blast. You say Sonic 3D Blast, I say when, where.
Sonic 3D Blast is like Beetlejuice for Amber.
Yeah, you're not wrong, actually.
Legend has it if you say it 3 times, she will hear you.
And I will make you speedrun it.
At least play it, maybe not.
But,
yeah, so this is going to be getting all the emeralds. So countdown, I guess, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so this is Sonic 3D Blast, as we've already said. This is specifically the Sega Genesis version of the game. And what VoiD is going to be doing is that they're going to be collecting the 7 Chaos Cough Drops, because those are shiny things that are unique to this game. They are very different from Chaos Emeralds, do not get them mixed up, and I will explain the difference between them when we get to the end of the run. That said, the general workflow of this game is you're going to be collecting 5 flickies per sector. The stage is, divided into several sectors, usually marked by a giant ring, and what we do is we collect 5 flickies per sector, and then we toss them into the ring, and we rinse and repeat until we get to the oh wow, that is new tech. That is awesome.
Wait, have you not seen that?
I haven't seen it. I was seeing chat about it in the Sonic speedrunning community Discord.
Yeah, I was pretty psyched about it too. I'm pretty sure that can bring the task time down by 2 to 3 seconds. I'm just too lazy to do it.
That's entirely valid. For those of you who don't know, the only Kid is actually, while not a runner of the game, he is the tasser of the game. He's tasked both Best Ending, which is this category, and the Beat the Game or Any % category as well. His tasks are fantastic. You should find them. They're on both taskvideos.org and his YouTube as well. So definitely take a look at those.
We're about to be going into our first Emerald stage here, Knuckles 1. If you want to talk about the cough drops real quick and why they and let me be very clear, chat. It's going to say Chaos Emeralds on the screen. That is a lie.
It is an absolute lie. Also, these special stages, they are very, very difficult because you have to avoid falling off the sides of the screen, the bridge. Except I'm also lying to you. These special stages, you cannot fall off of them. You can, in fact, die in them if you run into those spike balls with 0 rings, and I have failed that in a run before. It is really embarrassing. But the special stages are what kind of discern the 3 versions of 3D Blast you can play when you do Best Ending, besides like the graphics or the music. Many people have played the Sega Saturn version. Some people played the PC version that's being run by Arctic tomorrow. This is the Genesis version. These, while technically impressive, are the easiest and most boring of the 3 versions of the special stages. Saturn has the best ones, and I'm sorry we don't have it in this marathon.
And when she says the easiest of the 3, she means the easiest special stages in Genesis Sonic games, period. Like, it is so easy to knock out these special stages. Even the late ones tend to give you so many extra rings that by the time that you get to the end, if you just collect all of them, you're going to be easily surplus 200, and you're always required to collect only 150 total over the course of the special stage.
Yeah, that is correct. So the Genesis stages were that's kind of what I've got on them. But we are actually seeing our first red flicky right here. Or no, this is our second red flicky, but we're seeing our first instances of them in this stage, and the flicky colors all have different AI. I'm gonna shout out Upthorn for figuring out exactly what the flicky AIs do. So we had a general idea of what they did, but we know that the way they travel and the way they like look for Sonic is based on the frame you are in the stage, which is really cool that this game has like kind of like a frame cycle going. But blue and purple flickies actively look for Sonic, and they will try to find him whenever possible. And then the red flickies hop around roughly where they were released. They will travel a little bit, but they hop up and down, which means you have to collect them by jumping more often than not, and it's awful. And then the green flickies, which are coming up in the next stage after that very trivial boss fight, was like the green flickies are what I call the worst ones. They wander aimlessly. If you don't collect them or if you lose them, there's one. I hate him. I hate you, green flicky. They will wander like into the abyss. You won't know where they are until you realize, oh, I'm down a flicky. Oh no, it's a green flicky I'm missing. Oh no. But yeah, like that's kind of what flickies do. If you ever were to meet me in person and you handed me a green flicky plushie, I might light it on fire. That is how much I hate them.
She would actually thank you for it, but she still would hate green flickies.
Okay, fair enough. I might try to dye it a different color. But this section here that VoiD is going through now is incredibly difficult because that ballerina-looking spinning mode that Sonic is in puts him in a very, very uncontrollable bouncy state if he starts to ricochet off walls. This game was developed by Traveler's Tales, who also developed Sonic R, which is being run tomorrow. And in that game, everything is also made of rubber. So, yeah. Traveler's
It's also
Tales
worth noting that every floor in this game is made of ice, even if it doesn't look like it. And when you're in the spinning form, that's even more true.
Yes.
And later in this game, there's also an ice stage that puts ice on top of the ice. So, like, if you've ever played this game, you might remember this, but by looking at it, since VoiD is just so good at this game, it doesn't really look like it. But Sonic's traction in this game is absolutely abysmal. In Rusty Ruin 2, VoiD's going to intentionally be skipping the flickies for this first section because of Zergriff finding a trick that we call freed flicky flagging. When you enter a special stage, any flicky that is left roaming will automatically be following Sonic when he exits from the special stage. Flickies exist in a number of states, which are trapped, free, following, and rescued. And we're basically just skipping the collection portion by entering the special stage.
There we go. So, this is special stage 2. There is nothing to say about these special stages. We've already said all that there really is to say. Although, one thing I might actually mention is the fact that the Knuckles and we haven't seen a Tails special stage yet, but Knuckles and Tails both appear in each of these acts up until Gene Gadget. They no longer appear in Gene Gadget. So Volcano Valley is our last opportunity to collect Chaos Emeralds. And that's going to be later on. We're hopefully not going to have to worry about getting any backup emeralds, but we do have a number of backup emeralds that we can kind of rely on in a marathon route. That said, whether you go to Knuckles or whether you go to Tails, the layouts are actually different. So Chaos Emerald 1 between Knuckles and Tails have different layouts, which is really cool. Unlike the Saturn and PC versions where regardless of who you go to, the special stage layout is always the same. Emeralds 1 through 7 have their own respective layouts, whereas like in this game you have 14 unique emerald stages that you can go to. Mind you, you don't have to go to all 14 of them, because unlike 2 of the games that we've been playing in this game, in this marathon so far, there is not 14 MacGuffins to get. There's only 7, and they are, I'm laughing at the person in chat going, Ricola! Just, I like to think
I want to point out, just for the sake of consistency, because I have a reputation to uphold, it's worth noting that Sonic can only beat this category with Knuckles' help, or at least Tails' help, but we're going to use Knuckles more often than Tails because, you know, Knuckles deserves credit. Just saying.
Alright, look, man. We need to settle this beef. This is the only time I have you on mic with me. Alright, chat. Are you Team Knuckles or Team Sonic? I need to know.
If you don't say Team Knuckles, we're not friends anymore, chat. Come on, you got a meme with me here. Okay, actually, for real, oh no, we missed the damage boost. Alright, so, it's actually very much worth talking about. This is probably one of the more interesting, instances in the game where you damage boost. You can actually hit Eggman before his attack cycle even starts. And, yeah, you can knock this boss out in 10 to 11 seconds just by... I'm seeing Tails in chat, nice.
I'm seeing Tails as well, I'm seeing Cream and Cheese and Big the Cat.
You know who I'm not seeing, though? I'm not really seeing a whole lot of Sonic.
I saw a lot of Sonic at the very beginning. But I'm seeing way more Knuckles. Oh no.
Oh no?
Oh no. Oh no.
So, anyway, back to 3D Blast, back to VoiD, doing an amazing run so far. VoiD's gonna grab this gold shield. This is one of the only prominently placed gold shields in the entire game, and thankfully it's right in the middle of the route. The only sad part is, it's also going to be taken away by Tails here in a bit, because, if I'm not mistaken, VoiD is going to be collecting an emerald in this act. I will say, just from a tasking perspective, this is the best stage in the game. But from an RTA perspective, it is probably the worst.
No, I will say that Spring Stadium 2, not including boss acts, of course, Spring Stadium 2 is absolutely worse than this stage, especially if you're going for an emerald. I do not like the ring route in Spring Stadium 2 at all, which is why in my personal route that I use for this category, I have a 39.59 in this, no, 39.58 I think in this category. That is, like, I dropped Spring Stadium 2.
Well, VoiD's not going to be grabbing Spring Stadium 2 either. The next Emerald's going to be in Diamond Dust 1 for Tails. Because, VoiD's using the same route as the last marathon, which is going to be Spring Stadium 1, Diamond Dust, Diamond Dust, Diamond Dust, and then Volcano Valley 1 to wrap it up.
Okay, so it's the same marathon route I use as well.
Yeah, it's a very good marathon route. For anyone who's not like super in the know on it, it's not per se the best route, but it is actually a still very good route and still perfectly viable for competitive times. It's just better to not necessarily, especially in a marathon run, try and get the optimal route, because the optimal route includes getting a lot of emeralds in the very tail end of the game. And in this game, if you miss an emerald in the tail end, that is basically a reset, because you can't collect emeralds past Volcano Valley. And if you fail to get the emeralds in Volcano Valley that you're supposed to get, then you can't finish the game in this category.
That is correct. Thankfully, in a marathon route, we can use level select to just go to the final, the final fight, which is the emerald exclusive, cough drop exclusive boss. And that is really important for marathon. So it's just like, yeah, technically this isn't quite the marathon safe game, but if we didn't have stage select, you know, it'd be way worse. But also, what color halls was that? From Tails. I can't remember what color they use.
I genuinely can't remember the color order in this game either.
Neither can I. I know it's like orange. It's like orange to start, and that's about it.
Like, it doesn't help that a lot of the Sonic games are not super consistent on their emerald colors, like, as far as the order of collecting them goes. Like, a lot of them, like, sometimes it's like a light blue one, sometimes the green one is the first one. They're not consistent.
No, not at all, especially in the Genesis games, like you said. Someone asked, how do you trigger stage select? It's actually really funny. If you're playing on original hardware, like a Genesis cartridge, the way
type in Barracuda.
Well, yeah, any version of the Barracuda, and any version of the Genesis game, you can enter B-A, right A, C, up, down A, and that is your, at the title screen, and that is your level select code. The other way you can trigger it in the Genesis version, if you're playing on a Genesis cartridge, is you can force crash the game by maybe wiggling your cartridge, smacking it a good time. Don't do that, I don't recommend it. Just some way to crash the game. And the developer of the game, John Burton, or the main developer, he had to get past Sega's quality check to be able to have the game published and sold. So any instance where the game would crash on Genesis, it just says, congratulations, you found the secret level select. But yeah, like that, that is how you can get level select. It's actually quite easy.
All right, so we're going into Spring Stadium 3. This is the hardest boss for optimum runs. It can be done in 17 seconds if you're like amazing at this game, and I think only 2 people have achieved that. I'm just gonna give a huge shout out to VoiD, because VoiD is the first person in over a decade to actually get the 18 on this stage. It was previously an uncontested world record held by Darkspine Sonic, and literally was held uncontested for over 10 years before VoiD finally matched it. And now VoiD and Coempathy are the only ones who have actually beaten that record. It's also worth noting that when
VoiD has as well, I think he also has 17. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The 3 of them have gotten 17s.
It's also worth noting that when VoiD matched this record, VoiD did so in a single segment run that was also a world record run.
Yeah.
So it's pretty insane.
Like, VoiD is insane at this game. There are other really amazing top runners. There's King Rhodes, who's in chat. There is TGH, when he ran this game actively, was very good. He was the first person to take the best ending record from VoiD after like 6 or 7 years or something, and then VoiD very quickly crushed that record. It was like incredible to just see this game get pushed within the last couple of years, because this game was kind of left alone for quite a while. It was mostly just VoiD and I want to say GTNTG running it at very high level. Argic and Big John would run it a little bit, but not in a serious manner. It was just part of their larger like multi-game runs, like the Sonic 8 and the Sonic 16 and stuff like that. But like VoiD, King Rhodes, Zergriff and I helped route this category to end up with both the marathon safer route as well as the optimal route that is used in world record videos. I think VoiD also like uses a variant of that. Like VoiD did a lot of like, you know, notes that were on Speed Demo's archive if you want to go way back as well. Like this game has a really cool history, but it's been really underrated and unnoticed over the last also nice over the last couple of years. It's gained some popularity as well.
Yeah, there was a bit of an adrenaline shot to this game not too long ago, and I think I mean, obviously we're just tiptoeing around saying, hey Amber, thanks for making this game relevant again, but
I mean, I don't want to be called Adrenaline Cyprin anymore. Don't do that.
It's worth noting that when this game got that adrenaline shot, over the course of the next 3 months, I want to say something like 12 out of the top 15 players on the leaderboard got displaced from top 15. It was that insane. Over 3 months, that's how much more optimization went into this game over that course of time. Because it was VoiD, GT, and TG, and I want to say King Rhodes are probably the only people who actually stayed in the top 15 after those 3 months passed. I know Coempathy was like keeping a record of that kind of stuff to see what the times were, and it's just insane, like how much the game improved over just those 3 months.
Yeah, like other top runners include Coempathy, TGH when he ran the game. I'm still up there on the leaderboard. I used to be top 3 when I got my 39.58, and then I turned my focus to other games at the time, because I will openly admit this game, while it's very, very accessible. Oh, don't fall in that hole. Oh God. this game can get really grindy, especially in the beat the game category when you are at a high level of play, because every flicky grab counts. Every little movement you make counts towards optimizing your route through this game. And it's Sonic's physics, while the controls are responsive, the physics are, as kids said, abysmal. Yeah. Like, speaking of which, like, do you want to say the line, or do I?
Yo, dog, I heard you like ice physics on your ice physics. So this game just puts your ice physics in your ice so you can slip when you slide.
Thank you.
But I really can't stress this enough to people watching. VoiD makes this look easy. Like, if any of you are picking, like, just watching this, like, I can do that. I mean, you can with a lot of practice. Oh no, the infamous snowman crush. So, the snowman enemies, when they get a flicky freed from them, that flicky is trapped in a block of ice that must also be broken. The fastest way to do that is to roll into them, but the problem is there's a big risk to that. If you roll into a snowman, there's a chance that Sonic will actually get caught and crushed by that ice block while rolling. But it is just, I want to say it's at almost an entire second faster to roll into that snowman if you don't die than to try and jump on it, because you have to do 2 bounces if you jump on it. Ooh, that's real rough when that happens, because there's nothing you can do about it. Once you're crushed, you just go back to the DOS checkpoint.
Oh my goodness. It is also, I want to mention real quick, I forgot to mention Dagrin, who also really helped push beat the game down. Him and VoiD, they were trading runs, essentially.
Yeah, they were trading world records. Dagron just kind of showed up and was like, oh, by the way, hey, here's
I run this game too.
10. It's a top 10 run, no big deal. And then he comes back a couple days later, oh, I guess it's a world record now.
Yeah, incidentally, the snowman death, I've had reason to believe, and I know you were doing research into it as well, trying to figure out exactly what it is, but I've had reason to believe that it's not a crush death, it's instead taking damage twice in a row.
That was one of my theories for it, but it's difficult to find out without someone who's a lot more code savvy than me. I know that when I looked in the RAM, I looked for a value that indicated crushes, and I tested it in numerous circumstances and had consistent results, but it wouldn't give me that same value when I rolled into the snowman. But at the same time, I don't know. It might be an underflow of some sort, but
I think that might be what it is, but I would love, like,
we'd have to have someone who's code savvy really look into it, because we can't find out for sure, but the best we can come up with is that it's possibly a crush death, because it only happens at certain angles, and it always happens when the ice block is still not broken. So that's why it's possibly the crush death, and it might not even be crushed per se. It could just be that Sonic being inside terrain just triggers the game to kill him for some reason, and it not register as a crush.
That could be it too, actually. That's an even more sound theory. We have tried to reach out a number of times to the developer, and we have gotten no response about this game.
So I want to point out that this is a task strat that VoiD does. This is literally, so VoiD is the only person who implements this strat. If you bounce off the snowman, you can reach a bit of a higher peak jump height than just waiting for Eggman to descend all the way. So you can hit Eggman when he's further from the ground to make him go into his next cycle sooner. Obviously, it's more risky because the snowmen require you to position Eggman in such a way where he comes at you at the right angle so you don't take a hit. But it's actually really cool seeing VoiD do this is actually incredibly impressive, because you have to manipulate Eggman's pattern in such a way to do it, because Eggman can be unpredictable. And 52 is still a really respectable time for this boss.
Yeah, like those snowman jumps are really incredible. Also, it's worth noting that there is for this ring route, there is for an optimal ring route, there's usually only 2 rings of lenience, but it looks like VoiD is not. Oh no, VoiD is going for it. They're just flagging right now, I think. Yeah,
VoiD's going to be flagging these because we're going to be going into the Emerald stage here shortly, so all the flickies that are freed are just going to be following Sonic when they come out. Hey, yo, who's that picking up that last emerald? It's your boy Knuckles, of course.
This is Emerald 6.
Wait, did VoiD miss one?
They had to abandon Tails in Diamond Dust 2.
Oh, I must have missed that. Oh, that sucks. Alright, well,
because they died.
Last emerald then. Still, Knuckles is awesome.
But so Knuckles 6 is my least favorite
It's
stage.
definitely the most bomb heavy.
Yeah, it's the most bomb heavy. It's still not just difficult, but it's just like it's claustrophobic and annoying, to be very real. I thankfully have actually never failed a special stage by rings.
Oh, I guess we should go ahead and point out, if anyone's been paying close enough attention, you'll realize that VoiD is typically only grabbing around 150 rings and then intentionally dodging the rest of them. The reason for that is, if you were watching the run that I did earlier, obviously it was pointed out by Alec, that the frame counter at the end of at the end tally, every ring you collect beyond a certain threshold actually costs you real time. And the threshold in this game is actually very lenient. It's 255 rings before you start losing time, but that was a very recent discovery, and we've always known that collecting excessive amounts of rings would lose time, so most runners just stop around the 150 mark because that's all you need.
Yeah, that is correct. I had someone in chat asking, is there a reason the Genesis version is preferred over the Saturn version for speedrunning? Well,
load times, that's really
load
it.
times. The Saturn loads like a slug.
That and accessibility. The Genesis version has been re-released through official emulation so many times by Sega.
And various
Saturn
compilations.
has never been re-released at all. Saturn is only available on the Sega Saturn.
Yeah, and the PC version has to be timed separately also due to load times, and also just like the three versions are separated not just because of load times, but because they had to be separated in best ending due to their differences in special stages. They are all very different games for best ending because their special stages are all very different. So unfortunately, like a Saturn run, I've done one on HOTFIX before. A Saturn best ending run, there's a lot of downtime in that, I'll be completely honest with you. And the difference between myself and the other Saturn runner, mind you, I run all three versions of this game, but I primarily run Genesis for, you know, the stated reasons. Also, the soundtrack is better, cough cough.
You mean cough drop?
Yes, cough drop. I think I might need to take one of those cough drops VoiD's been collecting. But the
so fun on the Genesis version, the pink flicky, due to the limit of the palette, are sharing their palette with lava, which is why if you look closely you'll realize that instead of pink flickies they're actually like glowing orange in this stage, just so you guys know. But VoiD's about to be going into Tails 7, the last special stage, right here at this spot, and once VoiD Emerald, it's a clear straight shot to the final end game stage, which is one of the dumbest bosses in the game, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's not dumb like Spring Stadium 3 dumb, it's dumb conceptually and just like, why...
Like, just dumb, but we're...
Yeah, like, why does this exist? So that's gonna be fun. Also, the Tails special stages have a way brighter palette. So if you weren't ready to look at a brighter screen, I'm sorry. I know it's getting late for most of you, but man.
But before we get to the really bad bosses, we're going to be going to the easiest game. Like, the actual easiest boss in the game is at the end of this stage, Volcano Valley. The fastest boss, that's easily going to be given to Rusty Ruin, but it's the easiest in virtue that even in a casual playthrough, you're very likely to find a way to cheese this, because this boss is not designed in a very good way. It's basically just sitting still and occasionally trying to attack.
Yeah, like I may have said earlier in my last run with Sonic Time Twisted that the boss design was not good. It was not good for a very different reason. That boss design was not good because the bosses were either incredibly, you know, BS or extremely difficult or just kind of not good in general. This is bad because it's like, look at this.
It's legitimately as easy as it looks.
It's hold down, right, and jump.
That was the boss, ladies and gents. It was as easy as it looks. Oh, another thing. VoiD hasn't really shown this off at all. But it's worth noting that in this game, it's actually very fascinating. When a boss's HP is depleted, when it's out of hits, Sonic actually enters a state of invulnerability. You'll see in some runs, especially Amber's runs, that whenever she finishes a fight in Volcano Valley, she'll just stand in lava because you can. It's also very noticeable in the final fight. It's also very noticeable in Panic Puppet because there's projectiles flying around the platform during the fight. But Sonic's just completely invulnerable after the last hit, and I don't think that's a trait in any other Sonic game.
Yeah, or even in this zone, Gene Gadget. In Gene Gadget 3, there's the spikes at the end of the conveyor belt. You can just stand in them if you've beaten the boss. You can run over and just stand in them. Speaking of Gene Gadget, I hate this zone. It is. I will openly say it is the most difficult zone in the run.
It's also one of the most fun to task, but you know.
Yeah. So, incidentally, when I taught TGH how to run the game, he asked me, "Hey Amber, what stages?" Like, because he wanted to learn ILs, and just kind of piece the run together. He was like, "What stages should I learn first and why?" And I was like, "You want to learn, Gene Gadget. Just do Gene Gadget. Yeah, yep.
Gene Gadget.
Gene Gadget 1 and Gene Gadget 2. And that's because that is absolutely because I don't like these stages. Gene Gadget 2 is intimidating because it has what we call the slope of rage. And then this stage in particular is just kind of like really awful because of the multiple fan tiles and the stupid mouses and the turrets. Can we talk about the turrets?
The turrets? What about the turrets? The turrets are awesome.
Look here, Mr. Taster.
Hey, it's not about me. It's about VoiD, because VoiD is just destroying this run right now. I don't know if you've noticed, but VoiD is definitely living up to the name, because VoiD is a legend when it comes to running this game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But seriously, Gene Gadget really is just a royal pain. This slope right here, like Amber said, is nicknamed the Slope of Rage because it is a downward slope that if you land on wrong, you have to go back to the beginning of the stage. And those green flickies that Amber so lovingly talked about earlier, there's one that's actually going to be right next to this slope and does have the nasty habit of just walking off if you don't collect it immediately, which again makes you chase it back to the beginning of the stage. It is a nightmare. Gene Gadget is also the one with the absolute worst boss from a speedrunning perspective because it's an auto-scroller that you have no way of making go faster, and it is the most boring boss fight in the game, by far, from an RTA and a task perspective.
Yeah, it's only entertaining if, like, you have it at a GDQ like King Rhodes did at SGDQ, and you have your couch put on Deal With It shades and just kind of pose with Sonic when you're angled against the conveyor belt. Like, that's the only time, like, that boss is ever entertaining. Like, by the way, that is, if you have not seen the SGDQ run by King Rhodes, do so. It is actually a very good run as well, but that is the beat the game category, not the best sending category. So where is Supersonic in this game? Well, there's a reason we call these the cough drops.
Yeah, Supersonic only comes from when Sonic has 7 Chaos Emeralds. This game gives you cough drops, so Supersonic is not in this game at all. Now, it's worth noting that John Burton, the lead designer of this game, did put out a mod that you can get if you have this game on Steam that does add Supersonic to the game for anyone who's interested. But yeah, the base game, which is the one that we run, does not have Supersonic, and while there has been some interest in speedrunning for the Director's Cut, the fact is we don't really have the runs right now to really kind of push for it, and it's actually slower to run that game because it has more menus between stages. It also doesn't give you nearly as much freedom in your emerald routing as the base game. So we more or less go with this one, even though Supersonic's in that one. So yeah, the reward you get for collecting the cough drops in this game is literally the worst boss outside of Gene Gadget. Because it's basically a glorified beta test boss. If you really look at it from a design perspective, it's basically a beta test boss, or a series of beta test bosses just kind of thrown at you. But you know, we'll have the Billie Jean floors, so I guess that's cool.
Yeah, this soundtrack is hype. There is not a 14 emerald category for this game because there are only 7 cough drops and no emeralds.
Yeah, we don't have any emeralds.
Yeah, no emeralds to be found. But Sonic will have the clearest throat known to hedgehogdom, known to the animal kingdom. But this is Panic Puppet 1. This is actually going to be the last stage we see Flickies in, because according to the lore, yes, the lore.
Hashtag lore.
Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman, was running out of time to put Flickies in enemies, so he put them in these really tall, annoying canisters, and now all you can do, and he just left them there. And if someone were to hack the game and replace every enemy or Flicky location in the game with either these stupid things, which are harder to hit than most enemies, or the stupid snowmen turrets that can insta-kill you by accident, in the game, if you replaced every enemy in the game with either of those things, you would create a monstrosity, and I would never be your friend.
So a couple of people are pointing out in chat that they're hearing music from Sonic Adventure. Yes. It's worth noting that this version of the game, the Sega Genesis version, did not actually come out in Japan. The first version they got was the Sega Saturn version, which has a different soundtrack. So a lot of the music that was originally made for this ended up being reused for Sonic Adventure, including obviously Twinkle Park, the kart racing one, which is what you were hearing just then. It's also worth noting that Pleasure Castle for Twinkle Park was originally meant to be one of the special stage themes, but it went unused. But you can check John Burton's channel, who's the lead designer of this game. He actually has the original MIDI compilation that was meant to be converted for the game and never did. They reused Green Grove music for Windy Valley, or Windy Hill, whatever it was in Sonic Adventure.
It was Windy Valley, yeah.
Yeah, Windy Valley. So, like, they reused a number of the songs. They also
Eggman.
Butchering. Hey, Eggman!
We missed it.
They also butchering Diamond Dust for Chronicles, but we don't talk about that. Hey, look, it's the mini Slope of Rage with mandatory isometric platforming, or MIPS.
Yeah, mipping is not fun. That was really smooth though. In any instance of
so smooth, it's VoiD. VoiD is
yeah.
the epitome of smooth in this game.
So, in any instance of this game where it tries to shove platforming in an isometric setting to, like, it's like, here, jump on these platforms. It's an isometric game. What could possibly go wrong? And,
Dr. Snoop, we do not ask why Eggman has a pipe up his nose. That is not an appropriate question. Eggman can do what Eggman do.
And I completely lost my train of thought now. But like any instance, oh, there we go, I got it. And I didn't take a sip of water and I actually got it again. Any instance of isometric platforming, no, we spin dash over it, we use a spring over it. That one in Panic Puppet is the one that we can't do any of that with, so it's mandatory, hence mandatory isometric platforming.
So these last two phases of this boss are basically as simple as they look. You hit the weak point and then do a 4-corner spin dash, because spin dashing bounces you off walls. And you basically are just easily traveling from weak point to weak point. It's also worth noting that in the final phase of this boss, you can actually use the right side's weak point for all hits, but it will lose you 4 seconds. We don't know why it does that. We don't know why that hitbox is always active during the weakness phases, but it loses 4 seconds and it's just a fun fact. But obviously we don't do that in a speedrun because 4 seconds is too many seconds to lose in a run.
Incidentally, I wonder if they'll show it off here. There is a... they're not going to show it off, that's a shame. Incidentally, in this particular phase of the boss, there are the 2 weak points, as we've shown. If you jump exclusively at the right shoulder, you can still damage the left one, and we don't know why it works. It just, both hitboxes for some reason are working.
And it loses 4 seconds.
It does lose 4 seconds, but it is both safer and also way better
Everyone
to do when you do this
T-pose.
2 players, 1
T-pose with Sonic.
Oh yeah, T-posing. Assert your dominance over Eggman. And then
Don't worry.
We're gonna
We'll
use
have
the
another
Chaos
T-pose.
Puff Drops.
We will have another T-pose, don't worry. Everyone get your T-poses ready at the end of this fight. Sonic's gonna T-pose again. So this is Billie Jean Zone. I mean, the final fight. I don't know why I would call it Billie Jean Zone. That doesn't make sense. Oh, look at those floors, though. And basically, we're gonna VoiD's gonna be doing a series of little bosses, 2 hits each, but they're alternating after 1 hit. And it's basically Eggman attacks, then Eggman just makes himself vulnerable for no real reason, and then you hit Eggman, and then you move to the next beta test boss. And this is going to be 5 phases, the most hilarious phase being the last one, because Tej and Amber found out that you can literally just stand right in front of him while he's shooting a barrage of bullets at you, and you're safe for some reason, because this game is amazing.
Yeah, TGH found the location that you could stand directly in front of the boss, and then I implemented a spin dash to be able to just end up like hitting the boss on as close to the first frame possible as we can. But we found that out like shortly after Tej started learning best ending, because he learned to beat the game first and then started learning best ending, and he hated this boss. And he's like, there's got to be a way to not die to the final phase. There's got to be a better place to stand. And sure enough, there was. It was just directly in front of him.
There was a question about falling off the side of the stage. It's worth noting that there is not a single area in this game with a death pit. Nowhere in this game.
Yeah, we haven't been able to...
There are hazards, but there is never a spot where you can just walk off the stage. There's nothing like that in the game.
Yeah, VoiD here is standing in one of our other safe spots.
Yeah, this is the older safe spot, but, you know, VoiD can do what VoiD want to do because VoiD's the best there is.
Like, I like... I like showing off the front one because it's funnier. But this boss in and of itself is your reward for, like, collecting all the cough drops. Normally, what you get is, like, when you collect Chaos Emeralds, you'd get, you know, some sort of epic boss fight, usually in space. But, no, you get this. You get this for cough drops. You don't get supersonic. It's not possible.
Nope, you just get a Billie Jean stage with beta test bosses and... but I mean,
they must have thought that these phases. Well, they must have thought that these phases were so cool. Like, it's like, man, let's do them again. That's how we're gonna do this final boss. Like, you know what? These phases were so good, so awesome, that we're gonna do them a second time around.
I don't know how well you guys can hear the audio on the stream, but it's worth noting that the hand phases, VoiD's actually using an audio cue to determine when to spin dash out because there's a wind up. And also, depending on how well you can hear the game audio, it's just worth noting that this music is actually the best redeeming quality of the stage because it's actually really chill, awesome.
Yeah, it's very bizarre final boss music, but it is really, really good music otherwise.
Oh, this is another phase that you can legitimately stand perfectly still and not take a hit if you're standing in the right spot for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, the missed spin dash. Alright, so this is going to be the last hit. The time is going to be on fade out. I don't know if VoiD's going to call it. But yeah, last hit, and then on fade out, which is 6 seconds after the hit, is going to be time. And then everyone get your T-poses ready. T-poses at the ready.
Everyone get ready to T-pose.
Here we go. Alright, so right after the screen is T-pose, and that's time, by the way. It's 42:01 VoiD. And there it is, T-pose, everyone. Get your T's in chat.
We are asserting our dominance over that awful
your dominance over Eggman.
And my fist is huge, says Sonic.
Yeah. And Sonic's also cross-eyed in this game. We don't talk about that, but it's real. There we go. The T's in chat are real.
Yeah, the T's in chat are very, very strong. And Final Flames
dominance
just like,
with the T-pose, just like VoiD asserted dominance with this run, because VoiD is the best at this game. You guys have no idea just how amazing VoiD always pumps out quality runs of this game, and I highly recommend anyone who's interested in speedrunning in general, like even if you haven't picked up speed game, this is probably one of the best first speed games because you don't have any frame perfect tricks or fancy zips and level wraps and falling through the floor glitches. No, you just run through the game really fast, and that's how you beat the game, which is I think a good place to start for anyone who wants to pick up a speed game.
There's also a lot of really helpful folks like Kid, myself, I'm one of the main moderators of this game, and other folks like VoiD is always happy to help, King Rhodes, Dagrin, like you name them, like they're happy to help you with this game. And Zergriff and I also made level maps for both Best Ending and Beat the Game. They're mostly for Best Ending, but you can use them for Beat the Game as they label like the flicky locations as well, very clearly. But yeah, like definitely shout outs to the Sonic speedrunning community Discord that hosts our 3D Blast channel. And thank you, Kid, so much for joining for commentary. Like, you're awesome. And shout outs to VoiD for this run. Like,
yeah, VoiD's runs are amazing every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
This is
like,
not
chat,
going to be the.
I want you guys. I want chat to, like, anyone who wants to pick up this game. I'm telling you, like, I've seen it happen over and over again. VoiD, like, straight fist in the North Stars anyone who comes in trying to take a world record. Like, as soon as you think you have a world record, VoiD's gonna destroy it before you even get it on the board. I'm telling you. Like, this game gets super competitive anytime someone is comes in to compete. It's really awesome. VoiD's also just an amazing person in general. Amber's also really awesome. Amber's always in the Discord. Like, if you ever drop in the Discord and say something, Amber's like, spider senses are tingling? Who's in my Discord channel? It's
Exactly.
worth noting.
And this is not going to be the only time you see this game during the event, but it's not going to be the Genesis version the next time you see it. The next time you see it, Kid, myself, and another runner of this game, Swezzy, will be joining Argic as he runs the PC version. And oh man, that's a treat and a half in itself for a very different reason. But yeah, unless VoiD, do you have anyone you want to shout out? Anyone you want to plug?
No, you guys pretty much plugged everyone already at the beginning of the run. As like all the people at Dagrin, GT and TG, the whole Sonic 3 Blast crew helping push the time down together.
Yeah, like we've been like a really tight-knit like community, and you know, we work together to try to like push this game as best as we can. That said, I'm gonna toss it over to Author Blues. Just as a reminder, this is Sonic and the Shiny Things. We are entering our last run of day 1.
Knuckles and the Shiny Things.
Yep, the A. We have some lava beef to settle, but we will be right back with Kirby Master and Diamond. They will be coming back to show off Sonic Colors DS, and that's gonna be a great end to our first night.
AKA the best Sonic Rush game. Y'all have a good one.
Be right back.
And stick around. There's one more run tonight. Stick around. See y'all tomorrow.